Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
7:07 here, the 7th day of January. 7:07 on the 7th, Bethany Mandel. Let's go to the slot machines right now. Is there a casino nearby? You want to go to MGM? Or you want to go to Maryland Live? Where do you want to go?
What did you snort on the commercial break?
How dare you? Do I look like Don Imus?
A little bit right now.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, all right, that's fair. Coming up in 30 minutes, Jason Isaac will join us. Do I look like Hunter Biden? That would have been a better reference. I went to radio.
We should go to video on this. But local people could go to video because you're going to be on Fox 5, right?
In 30 minutes, yeah, just
go.
for a quickie. Yeah, thanks for
you're good at quickies.
Behind the curtain there, yeah. Coming up in 30 minutes, Jason Isaac, American Energy Institute. Then at 8:05, Jason Hansen on the Mark Kelly situation. 8:35, Governor Scott Walker on the passing of Michael Reagan. And yes, that's Bethany Mandel in for an ailing Julie Gunlock. Get well soon, Julie. We're thinking about you. Here is Bethany. Bethany, good morning. Mom Wars is the Substack you want to go to check out everything going on in Bethany's life and beyond. I like to refer to it as the TMI Bethany Substack.
Yeah. I mean, you get me 4 hours in the morning here. You get some TMI from Bethany on the radio, too.
We have this in common. We overshare.
Yeah. I think that's why people like us, because there's just no filter.
And I think it's also why your husband and my wife often share the same eye roll experience.
Well, they just don't. I don't know about Meredith, but Seth doesn't listen to anything because he can't handle it. His level and internal cringe can't function. Oh gosh, I think Meredith would love to learn that skill. Actually, might want to get them together. Speaking of not wanting to listen to anything cringe eye roll moments, yesterday, Democrats on Capitol Hill held a candlelight vigil of sorts for the most tragic day in American history, as you know. So when this showed up in the show notes of what we were going to talk about, I genuinely thought, and I still kind of think, that you're punking me. This is not true.
It looked like AI, right?
Yes, they used AI to create photos of this, because there is no way these people are so cringe.
On the 5th anniversary of January 6th, Democrats decided to take battery-powered fake candles and march down the steps of the Capitol building and hold a literally fake candlelight vigil on behalf of the tragedy that was January 5th.
There is no way this is real.
No way. I guess this works for their base, I suppose. Or maybe they just decided they were so all in on this that there's just no turning back. That there's no possible way that they can rewrite history and say, yeah, all right, maybe we overplayed our hand here. My favorite part at the end, and actually I shouldn't say my favorite part, because actually I found this to be the most odious moment. At the end, they all stood hand in hand and sang God Bless America. And the reason I find that's odious is because the last time we saw Congress standing on the steps of that building in the dark singing God Bless America was the evening of September 11th. 2001. It was actually one of the most beautiful moments in my adult life, seeing Republicans and Democrats alike uniting and singing God Bless America at the moment that we had been struck by an enemy that wanted us dead, that wanted us destroyed, an existential threat to our nation. And I saw that both parties could come together at that moment, sing God Bless America, and unite. And instead, Democrats yesterday decided to take that moment and turn it into a divisive, partisan fraud. It was embarrassing.
Okay. I trust that this is coming from a good place, Larry, but I think that you're not enjoying it enough. I think that you need to just...
It annoys me.
You're
right.
Let it wash over you.
I should. And I should just be able to laugh at it.
And just laugh.
Well,
we're not handed gifts like this very frequently in life.
I
think we should embrace it.
You're right. In fact, here, I will find some humor in it. This is what it sounded like and looked like if you were watching the live stream that the Democrats had running while they were singing God Bless America. Here, this is perfect, actually. Here's what happened.
Guide her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to...
My favorite... Go ahead.
But by the way, just so you know, that was not some sort of mistake or error, and we didn't. It literally cut off mid-word while they were singing. Their own live stream shut down.
Okay.
While they were in the middle of the song.
So I hope Vice President J.D. Vance is listening right now and his staff, because I have to say his tweet in response to this, he quote tweeted a video of this, and he just AI put sombreros.
He did. There's sombreros on
great.
all of them.
It's so great.
I know. I got to tell you, I can't look at Hakeem Jeffries anymore without thinking, where's the sombrero?
I know.
The guy, he looks like he should be wearing a sombrero all the time.
And I also, if Chuck Schumer's staff are listening, I would just like to say thank you to them for, I think this was Chucky's idea. It seems very Chuck Schumer-like, along with like grilling cheese on top of raw hamburgers. Like, it's that level of decision-making.
Yeah.
And I would like to thank them right now. I feel like I'm at an awards show. There's so many people I want to just give my appreciation to for this moment, because I think we needed it as a country.
This is what this is all about. The lowest approval rankings in President Trump's entire public career was on the day after January 6th. Because of the events that happened, and because in the immediate aftermath, the way it was covered, Donald Trump was singularly blamed for everything that went on there. And remember, the initial reports were that Officer Brian Sicknick was murdered by the mob. Then that was revised by the New York Times that, well, he wasn't murdered, but he died suffering from a reaction to the pepper spray that was used. And then that was revised again, and it turns out Officer Sicknick, as tragic as his death was, literally had nothing to do with January 6th, actually. He died because of a coronary issue a couple of days later. But the initial response was, this was horrible, this was awful, and it's Trump's fault. That was Trump's worst day in public life, and this is the Democrats trying to relive that glory moment and remind everybody so that maybe it helps them politically. They are still stuck on the same TDS treadmill where they have no ideas of their own, Bethany. All they can communicate to the American people is Trump is bad.
Yeah.
And this just plays right into that same thing. And it's a losing message.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, January 6th was a bad moment. Like, I'm making much fun, but it was not a great look.
I'm not. Yeah, same. And I just want to be clear.
And you are being clear. I wasn't being clear.
I'm making fun of the Democrats who are overplaying it and turning it into 9/11.
Yeah,
That's what I'm making fun of.
100%. Me too. But what I'm thinking is here, they have blown the best gift they had by overplaying it.
Yep.
And it reminds me a lot of my kids. Like, when they fall and scrape their knee, I am sympathetic. Wow, that really stinks, bud. Let's brush it off. Let's figure. And I will indulge a popsicle, sure. But when, like, 7 days later, you're sobbing because you want a chocolate cake baked for you because 7 days ago you fell and skinned your knee, my sympathy has run out, and I'm feeling kind of resentful of you still pulling that skinned knee card. That's how I feel about Democrats with January 6th. You're overplaying your hand, man.
Great analogy. And by the way, it shouldn't be overlooked that in overplaying their hand, they also covered up a lot of truth and a lot of facts that were inconvenient for them, including the chief of the Capitol Police, Stephen Sund, who has said over and over again, and it has never been disputed, that he was begging for police and security reinforcements for days, and it was Speaker Pelosi's office who denied every single request until literally there were mobs at the door of the Capitol building. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi's culpability, the truth about the Capitol Police's response, and what could have been President Trump's proactive initiative to get the National Guard there beforehand, none of that came out. They overplayed their hand by covering up the facts so that they could try to create a fictional scenario through the January 6th committee. And, oh, by the way, let's not forget the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Americans whose rights were ripped from them for the crime of walking through a door held open by a police officer. The overplay by the Justice Department and the misuse of our law and law enforcement to punish people for being in the wrong political team, that should never be forgotten. That I'd stand and do a candlelight vigil for. It's 7:16.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
You'll remember on Monday, Tim Walz made it official that he would not be running for re-election, even though he's the most successful governor in the most successful state, and he's a transcendent political figure who should have been one heartbeat away from the presidency. But for some strange reason, he blames it on Donald Trump and conservative YouTube journalists. He's decided that he's not going to run for re-election. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that he's wrapped up in all of the fraud investigations. He could be criminally liable, and polling shows that he probably would have lost to any Republican, even the My Pillow guy. That said, here's what it sounded like on Monday when he read his statement and then ran away from reporters without answering questions.
I'm proud of the way we treat our neighbors. I'm proud of the way that we welcome people to this state. I'm proud of the way that we innovate. And I'm proud of the way that we are optimists for the future. No one's taking this away from us. Not the fraudsters, certainly not this president, not on my watch. Tomorrow, I'll be back with you. I'll give you an update on America's best paid family medical leave program that is now a week into it. And at that time, I'll take all your questions. Thank you all.
Thank you, President. I'll be back tomorrow. Next call tomorrow. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Wow. I love that the reporters are all angry at him and start yelling back at him. He can't even fool the reporters in Minneapolis anymore. We've got an update on this. May I? Do you mind, Bethany?
Go for it, please. I'm so into this.
He did answer some questions yesterday, and one of the questions was, so why did you drop out? And you tell me what you make of this answer. Cut 8.
Governor, what decision to end your campaign by yourself, or did you receive pressure from Democratic allies?
This is a decision that I make and make with my family. And certainly, I think, as I said, it's the right decision. I'll note, I think it's appropriate we're here today. The war that's being waged against Minnesota, you're seeing it. We have a ridiculous surge of apparently 2,000 people not coordinating with us that are for a show of the cameras. I'm going to note to all of you, today is January 6th. There's no debate what happened. The President of the United States led an insurrection against a fair election to try and overturn that.
Understand the answer to the question here, Michael. The answer to the question is, first of all, he's not running for re-election because the Justice Department is investigating without cooperating with his office, which, by the way, you know why? Because his office is being investigated as well. Why would you cooperate with the office? And number two, it's the anniversary of January 6th. That's why he's not running. Did you follow that?
I followed it breathlessly, and this is just so peak. They can't find a new thing. They're so fixated on the January 6th stuff. It reminds me a lot of our conversation about the Hyde Amendment, honestly, that they think that taxpayer dollars belong to them, and they can do whatever they want with them. They can pay Somali fraudsters if they want. They can pay for abortions. The second that money is taken from you by Uncle Sam, they can do whatever they want with your money. And that's not how this works.
Yeah.
No.
He also went after the U.S. attorney, who is Joe Thompson, who's actually spearheading the investigation into what even Democrats now are admitting is one of the worst cases of government fraud and entitlement fraud that we've seen in modern history. Here's cut 9, Tim Walz attacking the U.S. attorney.
This without having to spend any time worrying about the politics of this. I'm going to fight it, making sure that Minnesotans are cared for. I'm going to fight it by doing the respect that we should have for rule of law. So I just think all of you see this. It is just going to be relentless. Why 2,000 folks? What are they coming? Do they want to coordinate with us? You saw a U.S. attorney stand up, which was would have been let go by any other administration, speculating about things with no factual information. That's defamation. That's coming from the attorney. We are under assault like no other time in our state's history.
Bethany, I'm old enough to remember that if an elected official attacks a U.S. attorney for investigating them, that is a threat to the Constitution and the rule of law. This is outrageous. Yeah, that's obstruction of justice, I thought. But when Tim Walz does it, it's different, I guess.
I I hope that he has a long career and goes on to do many things for the Democratic Party, because I think he's an important voice, and I think that he has a lot to give, and I think they should tap him.
We had Dustin Grage on the show yesterday. He's an investigative journalist in Minnesota, and he said that his sources tell him that Klobuchar will become governor, and then she will appoint Tim Walz to replace him as senator. So we might have him right here in our backyard, which would be glorious. That said, the aforementioned Dustin Grage also revealed yesterday, late last night, Tim Walz apparently is under investigation from the legislative auditor in Minnesota, saying that his DHS fabricated records had zero internal controls and employees ignored oversight on more than $400 million in grants. Just another shoe to drop in what appears to be, at the very best, negligence and incompetence, at the worst, a full political fraud scheme in Minnesota. This was the man Kamala Harris picked to be her running mate. 723.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:37. Good morning. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company and joining into our conversation that we have every morning from 5 to 9 a.m. Coming up at 8:05, we'll also be joined by Jim Hansen. He's a retired Special Forces dude from the Army. He's got some opinions on the Mark Kelly situation. And at 8:35, Governor Scott Walker, Young America's Foundation, reflect on the passing of Michael Reagan yesterday. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Bethany Mandel here. Catch her stuff at the Mom Wars Substack and podcast. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. I'm so excited to be here with you this morning.
It's always a delight to have you, and welcome back from your great trip overseas over the holidays. Joining us now is Jason Isaac. He's the CEO and founder of the American Energy Institute, and boy, there's a lot to talk to you about, Jason. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be on. Good morning.
Well, good morning. First of all, your impression right now of the aftermath of the removal of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. The president's announcement yesterday, 30 to 50 million barrels of oil now under U.S. control, and his demand that China and Russia get out of the business of dealing with Venezuela. I see nothing but good news here. What do you see? What are you concerned about?
Yeah, this is great for oil markets. It's great for economic stability, and it's great for the refineries in the Gulf Coast of the United States that process and refine this heavier crude, so we're not having to transport it across oceans to get it. We're just bringing it north from Venezuela. And that'll be great to rebuild Venezuela, who's now getting market prices. They're not getting influence from China. 8 in 10 barrels from Venezuela was going to China, who is paying cheaper prices for that. They're probably maybe exchanging intel, technology, other goods. But this was black market oil. And so it's coming out of the black market. That's good for the consumers, and it's good for oil markets.
So on a realistic level, when might we see changes in not just gas prices, but, I was saying earlier, it trickles down to everything, to how much you pay for your groceries, everything. All of that is sort of predicated on gas prices. So when might we start to see the effects of this, and what would the effects look like?
Yeah, Bethany, I think you're going to continue to see lower prices at the pump, which is great for the consumers. You look just a week ago, the national average of price of a gallon of gasoline that keeps getting reported with fuel taxes, that states fuel taxes, it was $2.54 a gallon without fuel taxes. So where you live and who you vote for matters. With prices over $5 a gallon in California because they have the highest fuel taxes in the country. So I think consumers can expect to see that, and then you're going to start to see lower price of goods. 90% of the products that we use in our daily lives have petroleum products baked in them, whether it's what we're consuming, what we're wearing, what we're living in. So when you're getting supply from a closer location and paying good prices for it, that's where you're going to start to see the goods that we use on a daily basis come down in cost. So it shouldn't be too long now. Gas prices down, you'll see the other products coming down as well.
Well, and we already have reports that gas prices have hit a 5-year low, lowest since 2020. It's expected to fall on average below $3 a gallon, unless you live in Gavin Newsom's California, of course, where they don't worry about the market cost because they've laid in so many other costs on top of it. But what about specifically for the oil companies here in America? Because, I mean, sort of the phenomenon you're talking about, Jason Isaac, in a very smart way, of course, has to do with just sort of getting this oil back off the black market into the world markets. That's going to affect the price just because of supply and demand. But specifically, ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, Chevron, these companies built the oil industry in Venezuela. They now have the opportunity to get back. I understand they're meeting with the president later this week. What will it take for these companies to recommit to Venezuela? Because the future is still rather uncertain in terms of how stable that government's going to be and what the safety and security is going to look like.
Yeah, Larry, I think the Americans need to understand that a lot of these American oil and gas companies had been in business in Venezuela and had their assets seized. It's like building a house, and then all of a sudden someone comes in and steals your house, and you can't get your house back, and you can't get the money that you put back into that house. That's what's happened with billions of dollars to these oil and gas companies.
Jason, I think the more apt analogy is if you're an apartment building owner in New York City right now and you've got the new mayor coming in. Honestly,
yeah, that's a great analogy.
Marxism is Marxism, my friend. Yes,
yes, it is, and it hasn't worked out too well for Venezuela over the last several decades. But the companies that are going to look to reinvest in Venezuela are going to really need a credible reset of the rule of law. They need to make sure that their assets are protected, so they need safety and they need security, and they need to understand that contracts actually are valued in that country. And so I think they're going to need some assurances before they do that.
But, Jason, I'm hearing safety and security assurances oftentimes in the past that has translated to mean American military providing that safety and security. Is that what the oil companies are looking for, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think what you're seeing now is because there aren't any troops on the ground in Venezuela now. They went in and they got this narco-terrorist who was holding the seats of power there. And so I think that's sending this message around the world. Look, China and Russia have been doing backroom deals with Venezuela, putting oil on the market, and really the shadow market, artificially lowering the cost of oil around the globe because you were taking suppliers out of the market. So that's going to level the market back to where it should be or get closer to where it should be. Of course, Iran and Russia are still going to sell oil to China and use shadow fleets to get it to them.
Jason, could you also explain to me? I keep hearing about this, but and I nod along and act like I know what they're talking about. But this is why we get someone like you in. There's different kind of oil coming out of the ground from different parts of the planet. I'm told Russia oil is kind of dirty oil and takes a lot more to refine. You got your sweet crude. You've got your what kind of oil is the Venezuelan oil? We know they've got a lot of it, but is it the good stuff? Is it the stuff that we want and will be easily brought in and incorporated into the American economy?
Yes, it really is. It's a heavy crude that I think it's over 80% of the refineries in the Gulf Coast process and turn that into things like gasoline, diesel, propane, plastics, other goods that we consume on a daily basis and are really dependent on. So you're reducing that supply chain transportation cost by just bringing it in from Venezuela rather than the Middle East. Then we produce predominantly we produce this light sweet crude, which we export to other countries that have refining capacity for that. So this is certainly a global market, and we are certainly energy dominant and independent now, but we still export oil and we still import oil, and we primarily import this heavy crude oil that we're going to be able to get from Venezuela now.
So on Friday, the Trump administration and President Trump himself are planning on meeting with oil executives. What do you think the context of that conversation will be? What is going to be the ask from oil companies?
Well, I think the first thing is they're going to want billions of dollars that they've lost back. There's international courts that have had rulings for, I believe, about a decade now where Maduro and Chavez had stolen their assets, stolen all the equipment they put in. I mean, it's not easy and it's not inexpensive to build refineries and to build production facilities, and they had gone in and they had done that in those countries and then had their assets seized. And so I think they're going to want to see some financial reimbursements, and I think that's what this initial 30 to 50 million barrels per oil is getting them the money back that they are owed. Again, it's like having your apartment stolen right out from under your feet, and you don't even get the money back that you put into it. And so I think they're going to look to recoup that cost to balance their books, to get back, that American consumers were left on the hook paying for through higher energy costs. So I think that's probably the first thing they're going to look for is to get reimbursed for the billions of dollars that they've left there in Venezuela.
Jason Isaac, CEO and founder of the American Energy Institute. There's a lot of smart guys in this town, Bethany, but Jason's one of my favorite kind of smart guys because he can make things sound simple enough for me to understand. And that's
not an easy task.
That's a real feat, Jason Isaac. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
7:45.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, Elon Musk says forget about Minnesota. The Democrat fraud machine is much worse in California, New York, and Illinois. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
We've got an update on that story where Hampton Inn in Minneapolis was refusing service to ICE agents or anybody associated with the Department of Homeland Security. They were flagging anyone making reservations with a .gov email address. Following up, they find out their DHS. They say, yeah, no room at the inn because of their own, woke, whatever left-wing sort of virtue signaling. Hilton disavowed this and said, no, we fixed this problem. Not happening. We corrected it. This is a franchisee. We told them that they can't do that, so it's all fine now. Then independent citizen journalist Nick Sorter went to that Hampton Inn with a hidden camera and said he was DHS. Listen to what happened.
Is it, what agency is it for? Using the government rate?
Would be Department of Homeland Security.
So we're not accepting people from immigration, ICE agents, DHS into our property. It's just our management ownership.
Yeah, and so that video blew up yesterday, proving that this was still going on. Hilton has now responded by disenfranchising that franchisee. They no longer are allowed to carry the Hilton brand name. And also, my understanding is that Hotels.com and other reservation websites have eliminated this property for getting reservations online. So, it's sort of an FAFO moment there. This hotel has decided that they're pro-criminal and anti-law enforcement.
Yeah. It reminds me of that famous Michael Jordan quote where he said the Republicans buy sneakers too. Hilton and Hotels.com and all of these places have come to that realization that Republicans travel also. And it's more than that because I think that they were getting a lot of calls, a lot of people threatening their vacations and all of those things. But it also just makes me feel less safe because they're not just against federal agents. They're presumably not fans of all law enforcement. Right. And when I'm sleeping somewhere, I want that location to be on really excellent terms with law enforcement, just as a rule of thumb.
Yeah, and again, let's just be clear. These are federal law enforcement officers from the Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, they might be there for ICE purposes and immigration purposes. They also might be there tracking down a terrorist.
Yes.
Or working with TSA at the local airport to ensure that nobody's bringing a bomb onto a plane. And for their own virtue signaling purposes, they decided that this was the smart thing to do. And 5 years ago, this may have worked. This may have gone unnoticed. The combination of conservatives, honestly, just not giving a crap anymore about this and just jumping out and screaming from the top of the rooftops that we will not be marginalized anymore and disenfranchised and dehumanized in this fashion. But secondly, once again, Elon Musk purchasing Twitter and allowing for citizen journalists like Nick Sorter, like Nick Shirley, like all of these other, getting the message out and letting it happen with free exchange of ideas and information, that, really has been a major game changer here. So
it's been so important, and let them hang. Let them stand by their words.
It is 7:53.